Welcome, everybody, to Mud Flood Was Armageddon. The Mud Flood was the Armageddon. Don't let them tell you anything else unless they're willing to debate you in a fair and honest way. April 8th, and if you're watching in a delayed version, there's supposed to be an eclipse today, and many people are talking about it. I'm going to be talking about it with RJ. He'll be joining me shortly. It's been a while since I told you in the spirit world, swastikas don't spin like a pinwheel fan. All right. You don't, a swastika is not something that you hold like a pinwheel, and if you blow on it, the swastika spins. That's not the mystical, symbolic meaning of it. It goes much deeper. The swastika comes from the inside out. Randy will explain that to you. The famous Randy from Wisconsin, joining us from Wisconsin, all the way from the mound capital of the world. How you doing, brother?
Good morning.
You didn't. I only gave the introduction, and then I started this. It's been a while since I told you in spirit world, swastikas don't spin like a fan from an axis point on the center, like a pinwheel. It's not something you blow on and a swastika would spin. They represent the center always moving forward through water, always providing your magnetic toroidal vortex analemma type Mobius strip powered by your internal battery used to power your personal magnetic pneuma life. That's like your personal space that is referred to as your aura, or as I've stuck with, miasma. You're not even really permanent flesh. It's always changing. You have cells dying, and your flesh is being replaced around that toroidal complex I just described. Am I original? Thoughts original? God knows. The Most High, He knows. That's a haiku.
Yeah, it reminds me when you took the paper plates and cut.
Yeah. It's been a while since. Sometimes you got to lay it out. Thanks for reminding me about that. I forgot about the paper plate experiment because that really is a good visual. Let's
Well,
start
I
with
remember it. Yeah.
yeah. I would have remembered it maybe. So, gosh, I cut this screenshot out of one of my favorite sites, that husband and wife team that make all those good videos are fun to watch. We'll look at one today. She was True Stream Media. See, that's a hard name to remember, but they're just, I like them. But this is what it looks like when the Abba lets me see my own brain, and when I see how it's little lights moving among the synapses. It really, that's
When something clicks, a switch closes.
it's just moving, it's clicking. It's this. It's kind of like this, but it's
Yeah.
more like this. And the problem is what, I don't know how they get so close. If they
Problem.
there's three of these tiny squares. They actually have little points. It's almost like a huge drill bit that has three heads that are spinning out. It's that's close, but not quite. This is kind of close too, but there's your toroid right there. That's the main thing. That's you. You're you're fake flesh. Well, it's not fake. You really do
What
have cells.
what goes around comes around?
Yeah,
What?
every single time, baby. And it's going to guess what? It's going to keep coming around. And you could inlay overlay because of infinite space with the Father. He could make this all seem full, but they would still be in their own space. There's your basic
369? That's the test.
369 Marco Rodin base 9 math that we're going to go. Let's pay attention because I got to speed through this. I got the eclipse, I got sculpture, I got history class. This is like the monad. Whatever that is, you'll see these are the vowel sound waves, stained glass windows, CERN. This is CERN. So I don't remember them all. Hey, guess what? I watched this thing about Chief Red Cloud.
Okay.
Yeah, he was all into Nazis, and he said that Adolf Hitler's government is established on Indian model according to Indian principles. That's what the Shoshone, the Iroquois say about our Constitution. It's from like the 12, what they call them, civilized nations or something like that. Wow, that's nice. Native silver. This was alive in a Titan's body, somebody from Noah's flood, possibly. Firing points. This is what keeps your little electrical. I was alluding to your toroidal electrical personal batteries. Well, some
Hmm.
people have gold. It's God that gives the, you know, it's it was alive, I tell you. Silver. Was this not alive and moving and caught by the glittering sword and reserved in judgment? People can believe whatever they want. I know what I believe. I know what I've been taught. And I'm bringing it. Here you go. This was alive, everybody. On the Matrix. Somehow, after we talked last night, we had that great time in the spirit. I got hung up on this word interlocking and the way it tied into IB Farben and the blah, the blah, the blah. Only a small forest between the lakes, the virgin pine, was purchased in 1917 by the state, became part of one of the first state parks. When the lumber era, did you know there was a lumber era in the United States in Michigan? That's up there by you.
Yeah, I would think something like that happened, more than likely.
Must have been a pretty powerful thing to be its own era. I'm just saying. Wiley Cooperage. Do you know what a Cooper does? A Cooper for a living makes barrels. The Willie Cooperage, though, had a mill occupied on an Indian village site making barrels. Hey, okay, until the heart. What?
Yeah,
Better
that would
road.
affect the process if you run out of material, no doubt.
Camp Interlochen, one of Michigan's first girls' recreation camps, was opened, followed in 1922 by Camp Pinlock for boys in 1928 by arrangement. Willis Pennington made this Interlochen High School. We'll look at it later. Coontown, in case anybody's
Yeah,
looking, it's in Germany. Doggone it. What's the standard model?
that
Theoretic.
reminds me, Standard Oil. That reminds you of during World War II, where uh, Standard Oil had the patents for synthetically making oil from coal, and
I
why
love you
Germany.
so much, man. That's exactly what. Keep your mind on that, because what I'm going to need you to tie that into is the Standard Oil, and then somehow we'll need to explain how that ties into these normal school movement of the
Well, not only, but it ties into that company in Germany that what's the name? Ivy. It's
IB
like
Farben.
ibuprofen, but
I
it's
IB Farben, which is basically IBM, and it's called
but
IBM in the United States.
anyhow, that talk about the webs that were woven, and it's a
Subsidiary
sticky
of
situation.
Ford Motor Company, I do believe. So I was going over just to make sure I didn't sound like an idiot when I would be talking about the Standard Model and quantum physics and stuff, Going back over it, brush it up. Doesn't seem like I forgot too much. They say the theoretical experimental research has attempted to extend the Standard Model. Okay, we'll get into what standard model means, but they already are attempting to extend it into a unified field theory. That sounds stupid. We've gone over the theory of everything, but it's been a while. A complete theory explaining all physical phenomena, including constants, like the Max Planck's constant speed of light. That's a guess. I'll prove that in un momento.
I'll interject again. Like for the term that companies have taken that, Standard Oil, the American Standard, the classic
The
porcelain
bathroom,
throne.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
the throne.
it, it's yeah, it's interesting to me. Yeah, yeah.
I don't know why it is still, though. It doesn't account for gravitation, doesn't explain gravitation or general relativity. The Standard Model doesn't do that, but they still want it to merge into theory of everything. Some
Yeah,
physicists,
normalized. Yeah, normalized.
yeah. There's another problem is that some physicists consider it just to be ad hoc, inelegant, requiring 19 numerical constants to make it work, and they just think that why should they expand it when the neutrino mass is still unclear, and they're going to have to bring that up to 27 constants, which are also arbitrary parameters like the speed of light or the speed of sound.
Yeah.
Speed of sound through what? Through a fog bank? I'm guessing it's going to go a heck of a lot faster through a fog bank. Lambda, dark energy. Why is there dark energy? Is there really such a thing as dark energy? It's all stupid.
Or
Hey, just
space with a vacuum.
you see that?
Uh,
You see that?
oh, a ring, a halo. Is that a halo?
It came out of a volcano yesterday.
Okay.
Yesterday.
Oh, smoke rings. Yeah,
Yeah,
puffing out smoke.
it's a vortex. The Earth burped yesterday. It also, that was April 7th. It might have been clearing its throat for the eclipse today, that when the smoke
It's
ring.
hacking up a hairball or something,
The
maybe.
smoke circles known as volcanic vortex rings are actually made up of condensed gases and water vapors. Well, duh. I guess I thought it could have been made of green cheese and happy thoughts. No volcano on Earth produces so many vortex rings of steam as Mount Etna, but these two were super cool. Look at that one.
Yeah, there's more than one. Yeah.
Yeah. What? That's the coolest thing I've almost ever
That's a
imagined.
huge cigar. Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking
But
is, because there was a time when I could blow smoke rings like a bandit, but
yeah.
I can't pop them out like that anymore. One good one every now and then. Smoke
Yeah.
rings. What can we all agree on? Kids like
Hey,
smoke.
did you
Kids like
see
smoke rings.
what was it, Cape Town, Africa, that hurricane, that high wind, and See that yesterday?
You're still 4 tabs away from that.
Oh,
Five. War ending. It looks like the Houthis or the Gaza war is Israel didn't win their war. They got attacked and then they counterattacked, and now they're going to go talk about it. What do we got? What do we know?
that Johnson's a shill.
The Interlochen Center from the Arts. That's right up there in Michigan. I used to visit there in that area because my wife had family in Grand Rapids area. We'd go up there. Farmington Hills. In a nonprofit organization, 1928, Joseph E. Maddie just decided, in the late 1800s, they began that might have been that era of logging, and that's over now.
Yeah.
I was looking so hard for a Skull and Bones connection, but they sure did everything else. This was you heard about people that go to that one time at band camp. This was your first band camp ever. Band camps started in the 1920s as an orchestra camp, looking for ideal locations, narrowed down the sites to Maine and Michigan. My children went to a band camp one time at the Yerkes Observatory, and that's an old school thing. So we're looking for old school things. Didn't find a connection to the Skull and Bones. You know what I was trying to get through yesterday, and I don't know if I actually got to it, but when that whole the haiku about the skull, it's skull and bones, but isn't that redundant? Isn't the skull a bone, or didn't they know that?
Well, that reminds me of that game where you throw the skulls and then you throw the femurs. It's I think it's a game that they give credit.
Yeah. It's kind of like a pigs,
like the Vikings or whatever, and they take, it's a gruesome story, and they made a game out of it.
That's weird.
Tossing the skulls and the femurs.
I thought you were thinking about the game Operation, where you tried to pull those.
No.
Out,
this is a lawn game. This is a lawn game where you throw the skulls and the femurs, but then the game that you buy in the store, they're like blocks and sticks.
Yeah, that'd be better. That'd work better for me.
But it was, and then there's a story, that goes with the game, and it thought it was the Vikings or something, and when they would slaughter people, then they'd take the body parts, and it was a lawn game.
I think I've heard that Afghanistan, they did that too, where they would beat a goat head around like a soccer ball, and that's where lacrosse came from or something.
Well, these were, human body parts.
Oh, yeah.
The pieces, for the yard game.
Wow. Everybody's always had games.
Drink some beverages and have fun.
So the standard model, Standard Oil, standard model, it's in trouble as of August 20, 2023. They had to stay, they already had hiccups on their road to the theory of everything, correct? Well, now, it's true. Muons, those subatomic particles, also known as fat electrons, wobble faster than expected. Doggone it. The wobbly Earth theory.
Okay. Yeah.
They're wobbling fast. So now you're going to have to start. You got to wait on the theory of everything until they can figure out, because this negates every single bit of their standard model, and they know it. And they know
it's another glitch. Huh?
It's a super glitch. Well, unless there is a 1 in 3.5 million chance that this fluke thing So in the meantime, they're going with the 1 in 3.5 million chance that their math is good, and when they fire up their colliders and everything else, it might work.
Yeah, it sounds like an Occam's razor solution to me. Yeah.
And this extra wobble tests the holy grail of particle physics known as the Standard Model. Well, we've heard about it. We treat it as a theory that explains everything we know. Well, they're out of luck, right? I mean,
yeah, who knows the least? Is that what?
Why is the extra wobble in this itty bitty particle so important? Why do we have to keep rolling with the odds of Einstein's theory working is 1 in 3.5 million. Would you like to buy a lottery ticket from me? I'm selling them for $1 a piece. You have a chance to win $35 million. I'm going to be rich, you know, because it would tell us new things about physics we know so far, because it could tell us new things about physics we know so far. We have a model that explains every particle
A
and
lot.
every interaction in the world
That's a
that
lot.
we have known so far. Everything they have known so far
Allegedly
is goodbye. I'd like to go back and I may find out what kind of a show we were doing on August 20th. I could do it.
Oh, go into your archives?
Yeah.
With all the talk of late of the total eclipse that will occur tomorrow, I've been watching the mainstream media and they're trying very hard to debunk.
It'd be hard.
Moon shadow, moon shadow. Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do it later.
Okay.
With all the talk of late of the total eclipse that will occur tomorrow, I've been watching the mainstream media and they're trying very hard to debunk the flat earth truth. Here you see this one paid propagandist that works for USA Today. Let's take a listen to what he says and we'll continue from there.
The solar eclipse this month isn't stopping some skeptics from believing the Earth is flat. The total solar eclipse on April 8th will be visible along a narrow path in the US from Texas to Maine. It's one reason scientists know the Earth, Sun, and Moon move through space.
You know what I was expecting to hear when this picture popped up? You probably don't remember this part of the internet, but there was a time when all of a sudden you'd watch a video and somebody who looked like this young man would pop on the screen and go, "I'm never going to give you up. I'm never going to let you down." And they say that you just got Rick Ashley'd. It's a scam.
It's one reason scientists know the Earth, Sun, and Moon move through space.
And this is his claim. And as you can obviously see here, the path of the eclipse, the total eclipse path, and there's confusion. People actually believe the sun and moon make a path through this area. Absolutely not. And first off, if the sun was truly 92 million miles away, as science claims, and the moon 238,000 miles away, you wouldn't have.
Well, we can't listen to him anymore because he's using the Standard Model. Those numbers he's using are from the Standard Model, and now here on Mud Flood was Armageddon, we know it just doesn't work for us anymore, man.
Well, but he's right. He's doing the NASA nasty whatever, but I don't think he's believes what his excellent. He's just given the standard, normalized, indoctrinated story that everybody can repeat. We're all familiar with it.
Since 1918, and every eclipse through it, wherever they've had the equipment to prove Einstein's theory works, doggone if the clouds didn't mess it up.
The area surrounding the sun was completely clear again. Clouds had stymied the only team with the equipment necessary to test Einstein's theory, and that theory would remain untested and largely outside the public consciousness.
Trying to bring
Einstein's or Frankenstein's theory?
these
Yes.
poor people. Look at
They-
this
Imagine
guy.
getting
Oh,
blown
no.
over.
PG-13. PG-13, everybody.
See how far? I mean, even if it was 4 feet, but it's more than 40 feet. And then that semi.
Oh.
Whoa, yeah, that's gonna take.
You know, isn't there a
Weather
difference
investment
between
Cape
God's
Horn has
judgment and
caused
climate
widespread
change?
destruction, including power
Whoa.
outages and infrastructure
That tree didn't
damage.
make it. I have a feeling that tree's not going to make it.
Well, yeah, there's worse things than losing a tree.
Yeah. How about that? Did you know that the U.S. Pacific Coast
All
Highway
meters are
number
blocking
1 is
roads and Cape
closed
Town
now?
traffic officials
Yeah. Well, watch this, and then
Here
he'll
it
film.
goes.
Yeah, and then he'll go over and over the edge and look
Yeah.
how far down.
Luckily, that was the trailer on one of those 3. You know, there was no person on that. That
The
was one of the
300-year-old estate
trailing
near
trailers.
Stellenbosch was destroyed by a fire fueled by strong winds.
Coming to a town near somebody.
That's some substantial energy.
Working to contain the damage and assist affected
Look at it.
communities.
It looks like people walking around on the deck in the middle of that stuff. It's crazy.
Res-
Uh-oh.
Another insurance claim.
That insurance, boy, where would we be without the insurance companies?
Assuming, yeah, you're insured for such of a disaster.
Raptors hit the ground and start running. Like, it just will not help you. It will not help your body. It will not help your brain. It will not help your spirit. It will not help you. It will not help the people around you who are also walking into that energy field that you are exuding of that frequency. It won't help anyone. You know, I am a very staunch defender of individualism. Obviously, if you followed my channel at all, you know this, but
She's just like she's the coolest kid.
we interact and communicate with each other all the time, every single day, without speaking. We are so much more than we've been told. It's actually really sad because they've gotten so many people to believe it. A couple days ago, when I was not sleeping, I was reading about unified field theory and resonance. And I just want to remind everyone, and I've done videos kind of about this in the past, but I just want to remind everyone right now, today, before the next 2 years happen, before 2030 gets here, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I just want to read something to you to think about and try to give maybe a piece of advice that will help someone else out there. But I want to read this quote first because I think it'll help me to explain this. I'm not a quantum physicist. You know, I think I'm probably a scientist, but you know, in that sense of if this was 200 years ago, I would have that weird basement with all the tables on it that have a bunch of stuff, and
There you
I'd
go.
be down there tinkering a lot. That's
3
the
of
kind of
those
scientist I
coming
would
out
think.
of a swastika type swirl.
Resonance is experienced and even identified as the process being responsible for the forms of what we perceive, observe, or infer based on it. an atom, a flower, planets, galaxies. It binds together the different elements that make up physical reality and allows interaction between them. It is the main factor for feedback to be possible, the conduit, shall we say, through which the exchange of information happens. The external can penetrate the internal, and the internal can manifest outside.
I would think that's
The
too
condition
racy
for
for
that
me to
channel
put
to
on
be
my
available
videos,
is the
but
coincidence
I
in
did
energy
anyway because it
that
was
the
in
inner and
somebody
outer
else's.
energies are
It's somebody
compatible,
else's video, not
that
me.
they have the
If
same
you think, yeah, galaxies and planets and all that's
frequency,
going on, well,
meta,
you know, if you have a good imagination.
climatic frequency of
Yeah.
human vowel sounds. There's the Mayan calendar there. You have the CERN Large Hadron Collider there, which, and I found it here at the ResonanceScienceFoundation.org website in this article from July 2022 titled, What is Resonance and Why is it so important? And the picture I shared with it is this picture that I found that has the cymatic frequency of human vowel sounds. There's the Mayan calendar there. You have the CERN Large Hadron
There it
Collider
is.
there, which interestingly, when they say it, they don't mention that it's toroidal, but it is. Toroidal being this image down here in the corner, which is the shape of the energy field
I love that GIF. I
of
have that thing that
probably
shows it in
everything.
motion. Oh,
That's
there
my
it
guess.
is. Randy, I hate
And the rest of these are famous church windows.
people don't like it when I say like they're finally catching up with what we want to talk about, but they are.
And all of these things look like if you were looking down into a toroidal field, this image, this shape is that shape. So
I wish
you're in the
people
middle
could
of
see
that
it in 3D.
all the time. You are in the middle of a field. You are vibrating. Everything is vibrating. The whole place is vibrating. Everything vibrates. We have a pretty interesting, complex
Hey,
system.
Randy, you want to know a joke that we used to tell in college, and then when we were young, and my wife and we would tell other kids and things. We go like, repeat after me. We know a magic chant. Ooh-wah. And then they would go, ooh-wah, tagu, Siam. And then you have them go, say it faster. Oh, what a goose I am.
That we are walking around inside of, each one of us. It's an electrochemical system. When you have an emotion, it's not just chemistry that's happening there. That is an electrochemical thing that is happening. And people focus on the chemistry part and they completely overlook or just don't think much about the electric part. But it's both. And I found this, there's a website called 6seconds.org, which has to do with emotional intelligence. And this lady, Dr. Candace Pert, she wrote a
And
book
that's what produces
called
the
Molecules of
frequency.
Emotion. I'm
Yeah.
going to quote a couple
Yeah.
lines from her.
And they show some
She
of
says, "We're not
they,
just
they
little
actually
hunks of
show a
meat.
clip that I don't think we've seen yet.
We're vibrating like a tuning fork. We send out a vibration to other people." And I know some people, like I said, don't want it. They're worried that this is new agey talk
Yeah,
if
it's
I start
coming up.
talking about
There's this girl
vibrations,
with this
and it like
yellowish
shuts
green bowl,
them
and when
down
she
from
rubs
hearing
her
what is being
hands on the
said.
handle,
You
the
have to learn to
water will
take
jump
what is
right out of the
useful
bowl.
and leave the
It's-
rest if it doesn't, what do they say, resonate with you. But you can't write off whole sections of the actual reality just because certain groups of people that you don't agree with, like some of their other philosophy or their other opinions about what's going on here, use those words too. I mean, I feel like
Now, if you want to really, because a lot of people like that movie, The Shining, and Stanley Kubrick, and I don't think you're going to get a better breakdown than her and her husband. I think they did 3-part series on The Shining, and more about Stanley Kubrick than any person ever really needs to know.
whether or not you think this is all just some random coincidence or you think this is a grand design, I personally think it's a grand design. But look at it. Everything's vibrating. Everything. I mean, I'm talking to you right now. That's my voice. I'm saying words, but it's it sounds, and those sounds are vibrating. And those vibrations are energy right now as I speak. So she says, you think about this as chemistry, right? She's talking about neurotransmitters called peptides are carrying emotional messages in your body. And the messages that these
That
things
works
carry
inside
change
us.
the chemistry of your cells in your body. She
Well,
says,
This
yeah,
is
the
this is
voice is the transmitter, and the eardrum is the receiver. It's
that's why
it's a
I was
loop.
trying to imply in that haiku. Was it yesterday or today? But anyway, that's why I started out writing. It's been a while since I told you in spirit world, swastikas don't spin like a fan from an axis point in the center. They represent the center always moving forward through water, always providing your magnetic toroidal vortex, analemma type Mobius strip powered by your internal battery used to power your personal magnetic pneuma life. Now, the pneuma life I'm referencing is each one of those water containing cells is spoken of as something that is alive. And in Genesis, everything that is that pneuma has life. They're part of our kingdom that's living within us. We set our intent, they're happy. I don't like the word aura, but I don't like what I call it, miasma, either.
Microbiome, is that
That's what they call our gut of that control, because the gut has its own brain and has that same wireless synapse thing going on. That's how they communicate with those peptides. So we need to keep that in mind. These things actually have life and they're in you.
true, but it's also physics and vibrations. Neurotransmitters are chemicals, but they carry an electrical charge. The electrical signals in our brains and bodies
I'm trying to imply that it's the first, it's chapter of Colossians that by him he created everything, and we know through sound and vibration, and by him all things consist. I just didn't do a good job of it, but that's how it's held together.
affect the way cells interact and function. So you have receptors on every cell in your body, which are actually little mini electrical pumps, she says. And when the receptor is activated by a matching molecule of motion, quote unquote, the receptor passes a charge into the cell, changing the cell's electrical frequency as well as its chemistry. Electrochemical, it's both. So just as our individual cells carry an electrical charge, so does your body as a whole, like an electromagnet generating a field. So we're actually sending out various electrical signals. We're sending out vibrations. And it only makes sense if everything is vibrating.
the psalmist, glorious and
Yeah,
wonderfully
how it works.
made.
Then that
Yeah.
only makes sense that you would send out a signal. It's basic law of physics that when you're close to an energy source,
Isn't it, can't trust even the basic laws of physics.
Oh yeah, man's laws
Yeah.
of physics.
call it a gut feeling. And for whatever reason, you're like, I don't want to make eye contact with whoever that is over there. I just have a feeling it's probably not in my best interest to do so.
This part
It's
gets
not just
kind of
paranoia,
weird.
you're picking up on it. When that person stepped foot on that same field that I was in, I knew instantly. And I turned my head and I looked that way. And there I saw a figure walking very far in the distance. And I immediately knew whatever interaction I have with that figure isn't going to be very good. And I knew it instantly. And it wasn't. It ended up not being very good. This was back in 2013 at Zilker Park in Austin, and I still remember it. So we're talking about frequency at this point and resonance. And these things carry information. There's information obviously in that frequency because that's what tells your cells to do different things in your body when you have certain emotions. So the whole way the system works is you're constantly sending and receiving information. That's how that works.
Yeah.
And so what happens, do you think, when these frequencies are being slowed way down because the emotions that you're feeling are things
Like a mermaid or something.
shame, guilt,
What's that supposed to
fear,
be about?
anger,
Like Starbucks.
all the negative stuff. Here's a chart. This is from Joe Dispenza's book, Becoming Supernatural,
What?
which is very, very interesting book, actually.
Never saw
A
that.
lot of
picture.
stuff in there about all of the
But
stuff
you know,
about
a couple, you know, some of them
scale of the different
emotions she named with some people often causes anxiety. I don't see where that, you know, there's a slowing down. A lot of time with anxiety, you know, you're on edge, you know, and jacked up or whatever.
Definitely.
So
Because you know,
and everyone's different, but
right,
you're going
and
to share some of these similar characteristics.
well, yeah, we don't have worries of the world, but we have, you know, if you don't worry, how will you know how to prepare for the future? This gets a little bit. Don't be a victim. It's a bad, low vibration.
Okay.
is through the lens of being a victim, then you're enslaved and you're down here in this very low area. And I just think that's what they're doing with all of this news, with this eclipse. It feels like they're trying to keep everyone in a sense of anxiety, keep everybody really low. That's a really good way to shut people off from each other, is to keep everybody down there in that bottom area all the time.
He's a good
I
actor.
think.
He looks
And I've
scared.
talked in other videos about how this isn't good, but I just wanted to remind everybody of this. And then I had a piece of advice, and I've told it to a couple of people around me, and everyone's like, "Oh, I'm
What
not
was
worried.
it?
I'm not worried." Okay, good. Don't be worried, because even if the worst happens, being worried won't do anything for you, except zap all of your energy and keep you down in this bottom part. But
I know you got something on your mind, Randy. Look at this.
But creating opportunities, huh?
These are swastikas, these meanders around the side. It all means the same thing. They all knew it. I'm trying to find the words for in the past. How come we're so stupid right now that we kind of get it?
Stupid is, stupid does.
We kind of get it, you know. What about this?
that they loved, foods that they really liked. And I haven't even read this book yet, but
So, that's tiramisu. It's okay, if, you know, every now and then, but boy, that's a rich one. What she's trying to say is, like, if somebody had a heart transplant, they can pick up the emotions of those people.
has to do with the neurons that they have found in the heart, and it's talking about how, people who've gotten heart transplants from someone that they never met in real life, after they get the heart transplant, they suddenly start to like the things that person liked, and the type of music that they loved, foods that they really liked. And I haven't even read this book yet.
Well, I read this book that talks about a heart transplant. He changes people's hearts. I like the analogy. I like it a lot. I looked at the Crocus City Hall. It seems to have been a newer situation that they would, in Russia, put up. Why wouldn't that be in Russian? You know what I mean?
The sign?
Yeah.
Well,
it's in Russia. Eric Clapton's been there. They had a Miss Universe contest there. There's your winners.
Oh, probably because the guests, yeah, might be more from out of the area than hard to say why you
It's weird.
strange.
What's this?
Big building.
Yeah, somebody lived there. I looked up silver. We're gonna wrap this up. Keep it soft. It's the atomic number 47. Soft, white, lustrous. No doubt about it. Silver was known in prehistoric times. Elemental form. Probably the first primitive use of money, metallurgy, copulation. White, while slag forms in Asia Minor. We know silver's been around for a while. The abundance of silver in the crust is 0.08 parts per million. That's strangely accurate. It melts, that's a kind of, everything's weird. This is Randy's favorite V8 engine is a 327, the kind that used to go in
I
the
had my
yeah,
Camaro.
right. It probably people underestimate the Camaro and the Chevy Nova that had that. I mean, that basically the 327 was based. I'm going to just take a second here and just tell people that the 327 engine is what led to planned obsolescence for the entire automobile industry, in that I believe it was a 327 Chevy that not one has ever, if you keep oil in it, it will run forever.
It's reliable.
If you change the oil, there's never been one that's blown a piston or blown out. And they said, we finally invented the perfect engine. Oh no. They won't need to buy cars every 2 years.
And it's the same block that's bored to the 350, isn't it?
I think they're all, I think that it all comes back to that Ford 350, the 396, the Cleveland 351. That was another Ford product.
Well, yeah, it's Ford, but yeah.
Silver is usually found in nature combined with other metals or in minerals containing silver compounds. Now, most other silver is pentosides. Silver production is also inspired figurative language. Clear references to copulation occur throughout the Old Testament of the Bible, such as in Jeremiah's rebuke to Judah, the bellows are burning and the lead is consumed of the fire. The founder melteth in vain, for the wicked are not plucked away. Reprobate silver shall men call them, because the Lord hath rejected them. Jeremiah was also aware of sheet silver, exemplifying the malleability and ductility of the metal. Silver spread into plates is brought from Tarshish, and gold from Uphaz, the work of the workman and of the hands of the founder. Blue and purple is their clothing. They are all the work of cunning young men who, the women of Israel, when those guys brought that gold, they were saying, like, I want some of that gold. Very symbolic, very useful. Evidently, I am in love with its copulation and its healing properties, because silver, and it's, it's just what it is medicine. Let's see. long been valued as a precious metal, can make it other than currency and as an investment medium. Silver is used in solar panels, water filtration, jewelry, electrical contacts, stained glass, photographic, X-ray film. Dilute solutions of silver nitrate and other silver compounds are used as disinfectants and microbiocides. Ugliodynamic effect. We'll look at that. Added to bandages, wound dressings, catheters, and other medical instruments to this day for one reason is you'll never find a more needed element in your body. Unless it possibly it's molybdenum. Something I'm looking into hard. This effect, logmatic, occurs. It's a biocidal effect of metals, especially heavy metals, that occurs even in very low concentrations, I think would be a better description. The metabolism of bacteria is first adversely affected by silver ions, which is why I ingest some every day, seems like. You know that the bimetallism was a big deal. It was like, not only did they want the monetary standard to be gold, they wanted it to be gold and silver and use a fixed rate of exchange between them. I don't know. Does that sound like it would work?
Sounds fair if as long as you come up with that exchange ratio.
What about the lumping standard, the limping standard, where both gold and silver are legal tender, but only one is freely coined? You know, that happens. It happened in the United States in 1873. They just keep messing with it. They made these laws that guaranteed these conditions, but you know, there's de jure law and then there's de facto metallism, where people can tell you silver's not a precious metal, it doesn't count in America, but in fact it does. If somebody said, do you want some of these old coins from 1964 for your change, or do you want other coins from after that? I would want the 1964 silver coins.
Or do you want slugs?
Tell them that again.
Or slugs. I mean, they're going to have the same buying power, but one is actually real and the other one is, well, it's a
right.
slug.
There is a percentage of people that will agree, and they'll always want that silver because for somehow they can turn it into medicine. Supposedly that's a nickel iron meteorite.
Okay.
Native copper from those copper mines where the Titans died up in what is now called Kinawa, Michigan. That's silver with quartz in a matrix. There's your thumbnail. I just loved it. It looks like a crown in a way, but I've got that pareidolia. This one looks like a seahorse. No, it doesn't. I'm just kidding. Platinum. You don't hear a lot about the platinum, but I guess they use it in the catalytic converters. Very rare to find it in its native state. How would you like to be the lucky person in heaven that, according to 1 Corinthians chapter 3, we can build up gold, silver, and precious stones by doing good works that have been predestined before the foundation of the world, that once we've been saved by grace, we would do those good works in between suffering for the Lord. This is a word, you know, molybdenum. Don't say molly. Molybdenum. The problem is most people go, oh, it's Molly. No, it's not. It's molybdenum. Just start molybdenum. Atomic number 42, we've been looking into more and more to the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and that nonsense where the magic of the whole world comes down to what is the meaning of 42. Molybdenum minerals have been known throughout history, and what I'm finding out is that this might be one of the only isotopes that is as healthy as silver. Is that possible? Is this a weird picture of it, huh?
Lots of color, it appears. Different
Yeah.
colors.
Yeah, this you could see some molybdenum in there. It's very little. You don't find it in that native form very often. It's usually just sprinkled in there. Remember how this works, everyone. These arrive wirelessly onto the pericardium that surrounds your heart, and then it gets absorbed into the bloodstream. So these were only going to be lasting a brief second, and then they're absorbed into the blood of someone who was told, nevertheless, you will die like men. And these titans that were reserved in judgment. I don't want to read anymore. Matter of fact, I got to get ready for school and stuff.
Yep.
So,
So you're gonna pack your glasses? Yeah.
Yeah, I got a new magnifying glass too. I gotta do some fine tuning. I need to get right on top of it. I have my goggles and everything. Got some new polish. Gonna brush this up. I have to make up some history tests. So, everybody, you have anything for closing, RJ?
Yeah, I'm not certain when the big event is supposed to be, synchronized. I'm not in totality or whatever of
Well,
the
we'll
event,
know.
but
Big
it looks
eclipse
like
today. Big eclipse
clear
today.
skies. Clear skies certainly isn't going to hurt anything, and that's what we're currently experiencing where I'm at.
Me too.
That may change.
Well, I say go ahead and stare at it, people. But I'm not a doctor and don't listen to my advice. But I say, keep your glasses with you, but sneak a peek. I don't think you go blind. I've never heard of anybody actually ever being hurt by an eclipse. Do you think it's because everybody listened to them and wore their glasses or used a pinhole thing? Never heard one thing about a person had to go to the hospital today because, oh my goodness, they looked at the sun during an eclipse.
Yeah.
It's a flat earth nation. The golden age has passed because the mud flood was Armageddon. We're never going to tell you anything else. Why would we? We're trying to prove we have your best interest at heart. Amen. Hallelujah. Aho. Aloha. Arrivederci. Ciao.